This is the Spokane Soccer Show, and I am your host, Benji Waud. On today's show, Zephyr FC start their second year in the USL Super League with 3 on the road and 1 at home to find themselves joining last year's playoff champions, Tampa Bay Sun, at the bottom of the table. But Velocity FC returned to their winning ways with a thrilling win at One Stadium. We'll also talk a bit about the English Premier League, and joining me to do that, it's Ronald Sanchez Jr. and Zach Waud of Spokane Spurs. Is that how I introduce you two? We're going to find out. Welcome to the show, Ronald and Zach. We're finally doing this. We've threatened to do this for a while now. I think I asked you guys if you want to be on the podcast at some point in the last year or so, and we're doing it.
Yeah, here we are.
We'll put some Tottenham on people here. Yeah.
Let's start with your summers before we get to the Premier League and we have our turf war. I'm glad, Ronald, you wore a Zephyr shirt, and the two of us we're throwing down our swords. We're like, look, Spurs and Newcastle, and we both have like our throwback shirts on. So
don't worry, I got my Spurs on the inside.
Okay, that might pop off in the middle of the episode. We'll see what happens. Well, let's start with your summer. How's your summer been, you two? I've seen you at a few games.
Yeah, so my summer really started like late June, early July.
Why's that?
My wife and I did a abroad trip. We went over to
that's
Spain.
right. Yes.
So we started in Ireland, actually. Met up with some good friends that live there now. Spent a weekend there, then 2 weeks in Spain, starting in Barcelona. Going up to the Basque Country. Went to Pamplona. 2 days there for running the bulls. Went to San Sebastian.
I saw those pictures. You were so crazy. Did you actually do the running thing itself?
No. Okay. So one of the homies that was with me was like, "What's stopping you from doing this?" And I was like, "Me."
Yeah.
That's a young man's game. I'm not doing that. But he went down there.
The existential threat of my imminent death is stopping me from doing this. Yeah.
1,000-pound bulls coming at you. No, I'm good. So.
Dude, I'm so jealous of your trip, even though I went to Spain in 2022.
Yeah.
Because you went some places.
Yeah.
We were going to do that. We were going to go up to the Basque region at one point and stay in Bilbao for a little while. But we just ended up, by the time we set our itinerary, it was like just coming out of like, you still had to wear masks when traveling and so forth. We're like, just let's keep this simple. We stayed in Catalonia the whole time.
Yep. Yeah. So we came back down to Madrid and then came back from there. So those 2 weeks, I didn't want to come back,
Oh, yeah.
Why would you? I totally wanted to become a Spaniard when I was over there. Shout out Nil Vinyals. If you ever want to bring me in your luggage and adopt me, I'm up for adoption.
So cold so you can breathe, oxygen mask.
I can be easily had, even though you might not want me. Zach, what about your summer?
Yeah, we just we were in London, the family, for a couple of weeks in August. So I got my Premier League fix going over there. Got to see Spurs in the opening match against Burnley.
Yeah, had you done that before?
Yeah, I went with friends last year, but this was bringing my kid along and getting him kind of that exposure to football life and just the culture. Getting our tour of all the museums and seeing everything. Kind of from his point of view was really cool. But
did you stay in London only, or did you go elsewhere?
We took a little side trip to Canterbury and got a little bit of the.
Did you just copy my itinerary? That's exactly what we did.
Hey, it was great.
And my kid Ivy wants to live in Canterbury now. When we're like, where do you want to live when you grow up? Ivy will say Canterbury.
I get it.
She thought it was magic.
Yeah,
it's an
awesome place.
It's got some kind of Harry Potter vibes to it. It's just very whimsical.
I did not think I would have a 6-year-old doing the audiobook tour.
Yeah.
But he lived with that headset on and walked through the cathedral and absolutely took in every moment of that.
Yeah. What is it called again?
The Canterbury Cathedral?
Yeah, it's just called
I think that's it.
Yeah. Did you see the Augustine ruins too?
Yeah.
Oh, we did that too. The girls did not go with us for that. Ray and I grabbed a cup of coffee and walked around that. But that one kind of bewitched me in a way that the cathedral didn't even. I was just kind of like... Just odd to see the old stone structures and then the all those renderings of what it looked like once upon a time, and plus all the gross medieval history of it all.
Yeah.
Like people,
it's pretty grim stuff.
Yeah. Totally. You read those things and you're like, I'm glad I didn't bring my kid here. Is your kid's name Felix?
My kid is Felix. Yeah.
Cutest kid in Spokane, Washington. My God, unbelievable, dude. So wait, I went to Spain in 2022. You just went to Spain. I went to London and France last year, and then you just went. It's crazy. Synchronicity. All right. I wanted to have the two of you on this show for a couple of reasons. First of all, we just keep running into each other. I think Zach and I rode the bus to the Tacoma Defiance preseason game and talked a lot of crap about soccer and the team and the game and whatever. And we're like, I think the podcast was fairly new at that point.
A few hours of bonding on the way to preseason USL.
Yep. Yeah. In extremely cold temperatures. Were you on that bus? Did you go to that?
No, I was traveling when that was happening.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And then I think definitely Zephyr FC's first ever game. You and I connected down at Flat Stick.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. But Zach started, I think, the Spokane Spurs chapter of support, whatever you want to call it. And then you are part of that too. Yes. I'm sure there's a couple other Spurs supporters locally.
There's a handful of us out there.
Yeah. Are there any others that I should know about just off the top of your heads?
Ryan Shelley, friend of the show.
Duh. I knew that. I see him all the time too. And I'm reminded constantly of things that are going on with Spurs. Okay. So nobody loves Zephyr FC and Velocity FC more than the two of you. You guys are big supporters of both.
Oh, yeah.
At one point, I remember you shared a video of Amina's free kick goal against DC Power.
Oh, yeah. So that was a good shot, like right down.
Oh, you had
right
a
behind
great
her.
view of it. Yeah, dude. That was crazy.
That was awesome.
But let's start. I want to get a little bit about your soccer stories, about why you're so into it. We'll start with you, Ronald. And do you go by Ronald, by the way?
I do. Yeah. I prefer Ronald.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I like it when people have their social media handles and stuff of like their full name and they're like, no, I mean it. That's actually my full name.
Whenever there's a field that says nickname, I put my full name in there.
Yeah. It's not Ron, not Ronnie. Yeah. Okay.
Never Ronnie.
Why soccer? Why soccer, Ronald?
So
did you play?
I played midfield for like a minute and then I quickly went back to the rugby field. I was like, I can't tackle this guy. Oh, okay.
I can't hurt him.
Yeah.
Wait, as a kid?
Stand in the way. Yeah. So I grew up in Hawaii.
Okay.
And, played football, played judo, and stuff like that. And then did, I guess, American football. I played that for a while. Yeah. Then one of my buddies was like, hey, you should try rugby. I was like, whoa, where's the pads? They're like, you don't need those. But, fell in love with that quickly. And then one of my buddies was on the soccer team, getting all the chicks. And he was like, yeah, you should come play. And it's not for me. I was in the wall for one of the kicks, one of the free kicks. Right. Yeah. And it was one of those, I didn't cover at the right time.
Oh.
I got cleaned out and I was like, dead.
Wait, so where'd you grow up in Hawaii?
On the island of Oahu.
Okay.
So Kaneohe is where I grew up. So windward side.
Okay.
Most of my family's in Waimanalo. So
I will pretend I know everything you're saying right now.
East side of Oahu.
I know Oahu, and I've been to Kauai, and that's it. But Kauai was the most breathtaking place I've ever been in my life.
That's where I learned how to hunt boar. So it's a cool spot.
We should have that conversation because I'm so excited to talk about Hawaii.
So back to like how I got into soccer, just from watching, and then I went to Whitworth. One of my friends at Whitworth, he was always like up early. Like he was down the hall from me. I could just hear soccer playing and chanting and stuff. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So he was like, just come over, like on the weekend stuff. So he'd invite me over, and I didn't like the team that he was supporting. And so I was like,
name him. Who was it?
It was Man United.
Oh boy.
So, I was like, I don't know if I like this. And then, he was like, okay, well, just find the team that you like. It took me so this was like 2000. It took me like another 10 years for me to nail down.
Finally get off the sideline and be like, this is it.
Yeah. I was looking at it in 2010, 2011. I was looking at all the.
I know where this is going. Teams. I can already think of the player.
And so I was looking at the teams.
A little speedy Welshman.
Yeah. Little mafia action out there.
Yeah.
But he was, I was looking at all the teams and saying, how many teams are just buying their players? How many teams are just promoting from within?
Oh, you cared about this. All right.
And then so 2010, 2011 season, going into 2011, 12, I found two different teams that promoted the most to the senior team. And one was Newcastle United and the other was Tottenham Hotspur. So that next season, I was like, I'm going to decide.
This is crazy. This is like the Alan Pardew era of Newcastle.
Yeah.
Before we became, what was the French, Nouvelle Castile or whatever people would say. Like, we were, because we got all those French players.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so one of the weekends in February, it was like the two sides were playing. was like, okay, well, this is the weekend that's going to decide it.
And whoever won?
Whoever won.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so that weekend, it was a 5-0 victory over Newcastle.
Oof.
I do watch Newcastle play. I have a soft spot for them because they were my number 2 team in the running.
Okay.
So
was this Eriksson, Lamella, that time period?
It was right around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Zach.
Yeah,
your turn. Tell me.
Similar on the Tottenham front. Soccer in general, I grew up and I played for a few years. Got tired of running. So I realized the running is not my thing. But then as an adult, so I went to Seattle U for undergrad. Seattle U had a great soccer program at the time in Division II, still has a very good soccer program.
Still very good, yeah.
And we won the D2 national championship my freshman year. So I was kind of hooked on that crowd and that atmosphere. Fast forward a few years, I worked for the Sounders their first year in MLS.
What?
And so that was really the thing at that point, kind of being a part of that. Obviously, they had the USL and the A-League team previous to that.
Yeah.
But getting that experience of year one Sounders and MLS, that kind of just sparked it. And from there, I played on like men's adult teams and watched the Sounders and had season tickets for a bit.
What were you doing for the Sounders?
So I worked retail. So for a year I was in the pro shop, and then I worked on the website. And,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
that was my
crazy.
gateway. So right around that time, kind of like Ronald, I had been looking for a Premier League team. Once I got into soccer, it was like, okay, I'm hooked on this. Like, where's more? And Premier League was so accessible, and it's only gotten more so in the US, obviously. And I knew I didn't want to support a front runner. Like, coming up from my Seattle roots, I could not pick a Man United, Arsenal, like Chelsea, any of those teams that was destined to win.
If only 97% of American soccer fans felt that way. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like, I would look around and see those jerseys and go, I know it can't be one of those teams.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll never forget 09-10, Gareth Bale, kind of the emergence. And I like a speedy winger.
Dude.
And we had Bale and Lennon and those two guys going down the wing. Like, for me, we talk a lot about, I think so much of soccer now, you think about there's the business side of it. And that's not the part that any of us probably fall in love with. It's like, you see those players play and you watch those moments of magic, and that's what really pulls you in.
Yeah.
And then you kind of hope the other things fall in line. So for me, that was getting to watch those guys and Crouchy and Defoe up top, and just the way that the team played. And that is something I think the ethos of the club has always been, to dare is to do. So when we're at our most entertaining, it's kind of what fits as a Spurs fan. And that's what pulled me in for sure.
Defoe. Oh my God. I think he's still playing somewhere. Jesus, dude. Oh God. Yeah. Speaking of the business side will make you fall out of love with the sport. And I'm going to get back to that in a minute. But first, I'm going to give you guys your moment in the sun, because both of our teams won a piece of hardware last year.
Oh, yeah.
For my team, it was the first time in multiple decades, which I think it was also true for Spurs. When was the last time Spurs won a trophy?
17 years.
17. All right. Yeah. For us, it was like 60. But you guys won the Europa League. And then I'm going to just go through a few of these things that happened over the summer. So you win the Europa League. Then Daniel Levy promptly fires Ange Postecoglou, and then, which is very on brand for Daniel Levy, they signed Thomas Frank. And I think I remember chatting with you guys and giving you a hard time via text when the firing happened, and going, ha ha, very Spurs, you get rid of your winning manager. But then if there's anybody that you could have brought on to be the new manager, Thomas Frank is one that everybody just kind of went, There's a couple Brentford stories we're going to tell you. There's a very successful coach of Brentford, Thomas Frank. And then you signed one of my favorite players, Mohamed Kudus, from West Ham for 55 million sterling. Pretty nice little summer for Spurs when it started off looking a little dicey. And then, of course, what happens at the end of all this? Daniel Levy is fired. Take any one of those pieces of information. I'm not going to allow you to do 40 or 50 minutes on it unabridged, but the floor is yours. How are you feeling right now, Spurs fans?
With Postecoglou going away, and then now, with the latest news, how he's like, I think he's just chasing Spiritus Sanctus or what.
Oh yeah, totally.
That was Latin, but whatever.
Yeah. Nuno.
Yeah.
That whole situation, which is another topic, but it's so gross.
Just seeing that, like how just that, I think what kind of stuck in my memory was when Ange gets up on the mic and says, you think season 2 is great. Watch in season 3. And the immediate thing went into my head was they usually start killing people off in season 3.
Yeah.
And sure enough, so that was kind of like, man, I don't want to start over again to learn another, learn tactics from another manager or all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, man, we were just getting good. We're flying high now, like watching that whole parade around Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the buses and stuff. I was like, wow, this is great. It's like, we don't remind each other that, hey, these are the good old times that they're talking about. But, just hearing him say that just stuck with me. And then he got let go. And I'm like,
did you guys see the Thomas Frank thing coming?
He would have been among the probably top 2 or 3 candidates that I would have foreseen. I think just given what he had brought to Brentford, how far he had taken them, probably recognizing he was at the limit of what he could do there. And just, you kind of know the profile of the club. And I think in the past, we've been rumored with some really high profile managers, and it's like, we're a big club, but we're not getting Zidane, right? Like, we're not getting that level of manager to come in. So I think it made sense. It's also weird now in hindsight because Ange, with his interviews now with Forrest, said he basically knew that he was fired before the final even happened. And so you kind of take all those quotes now looking back and you're like, he was up there on that stage saying all of that and he knew that the hammer was still coming.
Totally.
And it's interesting because I think that it's a topic that probably divides a lot of Spurs fans a bit, or at least did at the time. Yeah. It's that debate of like, the trophy is the highest high we've ever experienced as Spurs supporters. We had a heck of a party that day.
Oh yeah.
And that's what you're in it for, right? As a fan, you want to experience those moments. At the same time, as a supporters group that organizes watch parties and had been going and watching matches together all year, it was painful. Like, we would concede the same goal every week. Yeah. And 17th is obviously not good enough. So it's that true. Balance of form in the league versus the trophy. What do you care about more? And form in the league, I think, dictates a lot of your likelihood to win things, right? So probably divisive then, but Frank's come in and I think got off to a good enough start and has gotten people on side.
It's very early, but they're flying so far. So
yeah. And when you brought up Kudus, I was like, he's got really good service down the side coming in. So that's amazing to watch. Like, we were watching that last match. We're like, this is what we needed. We need somebody to serve. And then now we just need everybody just get in the box. But, with his service down the side, Kudus, what a great addition.
Huge addition. Yeah. Let's use that to segue into the ugly side of the Premier League and the transfer market, because I think honestly, and look, it's been tough for me to just go through this transition to having your club owned by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and everything that comes with. But it's like, between financial fair play and what's called PSR, profit and sustainability rules, it just feels like this is not ever going to probably improve in my lifetime when it comes to parity, when it comes to the idea. So Newcastle get bought by the wealthiest of all the sovereign wealth funds, the wealthiest, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They can't spend money. Basically what they've done, it's like, and it came so late after Chelsea have won umpteen trophies, after Manchester City have won dozens of trophies. They're like, no, it's time. And basically what it has created is, take a moment in time, a snapshot, and all the top 6 teams, they're just going to be glued there forever, because you can't spend your way, you can't compete with this. So for me, it's like Chelsea just got hit with 74 charges of some type of transaction, financial malpractice, whatever you want to call it, right? 74 charges brought against them, 41 shy of the 115 that were brought against Manchester City, right? Still nothing's happened. Those charges are like almost 2 years old now for Manchester City, and nothing's happened, okay? Meanwhile, Liverpool can come in. They know that Alexander Isak is like, I'm bigger than Newcastle. They probably knew that was the grumbling. He's not for sale. He's under contract for 3 more years. And all they have to do is throw out a fake offer for a player that's not been advertised. He's not in the shop window. And what does it accomplish? They can just walk away with a little flirtation and be like, oh, not 110 million. Oh, bummer. I guess we won't get him. Knowing that it's like, okay, Isak's head's turned.
Right.
And now it's like there's nothing that Newcastle can do to keep that player.
And I think this is...
if he wants to throw a tantrum, which is what Isak did.
Yeah, and that's what makes it hard, because I think you want to support these players who have short careers, right? And for them to maximize their earnings, there's kind of a point to that. But when the head gets turned, right, it's so difficult to keep that player at that point. And you know what that does, the relationship between the player and the fans, right? The Geordies that had their Alexander Isak tattoos after the EFL Cup, right? People turning them into rats and things like that. Unfortunately, that's where the business side, it does take away from the love of the game, which is about the players and how they perform on the field and those moments of magic and those trophy lifts. You're right. It's a whole bag of cash that comes in, and it totally transforms that. And I think with these big six clubs, the money is almost unfathomable. Like the dollar amounts for players that sometimes you're like, yeah, I think I've heard of that guy. He's worth 60 million pounds. Like how much that has transformed in the last few years and really made it is unsustainable to compete. Yeah. So, but those teams that still get it right, where they have the good planning, their front office knows what they're doing. They think effectively about how to incorporate their youth players, how to sell their youth players, how to bring money in. Like those are the clubs that still succeed. Spurs have had money. They've done it in a more sustainable way.
And they've spent money too. Yeah.
And they've spent money, but the squad planning, the coordination, the organization just has not been there to get to those heights that like Liverpool has, right?
Well, I think my ultimate point though, and why I find all this so disheartening and also at the end of the day, I just don't care. It's like, we're talking about, I want to make 300,000 more a week. These numbers on wages, and Newcastle had an opportunity last year to sign him to an extension. They didn't. It was to give him a new contract, to tear up the old one and start fresh. Even though they had developed, he was under delivering on his talent before he was signed out of La Liga. Eddie Howe developed him into the player he was. Yes, he's brilliant, but it's like, how are you supposed to care about the possibility of pursuing a Premier League title or something like that when that can happen? When all it takes is Liverpool to just that, and that's totally legal in the current system in the transfer system of the English Premier League, to go make an offer for a player that's not even for sale. Like, it'd be worse than even tampering in, like, say, the NBA or something. It just doesn't have that. And don't get me wrong, the NBA is not perfect either. Obviously, look what's happening with Kawhi Leonard, but it just seems completely ludicrous to me that a team with the wealth of Newcastle is told, you can't spend because you would lose too much money, blah, blah, blah. We're done letting Chelsea and Manchester City get away with whatever they get away with. But at the same time, also, all any of those big clubs have to do is just come and just give a little wink and a nod and a flirt, and that player can be unsettled and force his way out
in front of him and be like, hey, look.
And to be clear, this is what makes it all really gross. Newcastle turn around and do the exact same thing to Brentford and Yohan Wissa. Not for sale. Brentford don't want to get rid of him. And Newcastle are like, we'll give you 30 million. And it's like, and then what does Yohan Wissa do? He does the exact same thing Alexander Isak does. He goes out on social media. He starts crying and whining. I want to leave. This is my dream. I want to go to a bigger club, whatever. Because the gulf between Brentford and Newcastle is similar to the one between Newcastle and Liverpool. And it just feels like the rich are always going to stay rich. And it's gross. I mean, let me move on, because I don't think anybody wants to hear me whine about Newcastle. Or maybe one person. Greg, if you're out there, you're a real one. Let's talk about some fun things happening in Spokane, Washington. Enough about the Premier League. This is probably why I never talk about the Premier League. People probably tune in going, which team does he? Doesn't he like Newcastle? How come he never gives me updates? Because it sucks. It's not fun. Spokane Impact. Your Inspire Soccer League leaders, top of the table with 10 wins, will be playing their first home matches in Spokane this weekend at the Hub Sports Center in Liberty Lake. Have you guys been out to the Hub Sports Center before? I haven't either. That's going to change. Tickets are on sale now. They will play 2 games on Saturday at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., then another game on Sunday at 9 a.m. $10 to get tickets to all 3 games. Velocity FC are traveling to Sherman, Texas to take on the now quite terrible Texoma FC. They look miserable lately, even though they were kind of overperforming for a while there. So that's Saturday at 5 p.m. I think that's 5 p.m. Is it 5 p.m. our time? I think it's 5 p.m. our time. Yeah, it's Pacific time because it's 8 o'clock their time because it's Texas and they don't play at 5 o'clock in the middle of summer in Texas.
No.
You may have to stream that on ESPN later because you have no excuse not to be at the Zephyr FC game on Saturday. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk all about the latest results of professional soccer games in Spokane. The presenting sponsor of the Spokane Soccer Show is Flat Stick Pub, the best pub experience in the state of Washington. Local craft beer and wine, signature cocktails, brick oven-baked pizza, Bavarian pretzels, and the best watch parties for our beloved Zephyr and Velocity FC. If you're not there with me watching soccer, grab a putter and play some mini golf or duffel board or check out the golf simulator. I have to say, as a disgustingly competitive person myself, there's literally nothing more entertaining than having a beverage and flexing on your friends in a game of mini golf. It's a perfect icebreaker too. Maybe first date. I think they wanted a Best of Inlander for first date, which makes a ton of sense. You'll never have a socially awkward moment again if you spend your social outings at Flatstick. Don't take my word for it. Head down to Flatstick in downtown Spokane or go to flatstickpub.com to book a tea time or check out their latest tap list. The Spokane Soccer Show is supported by Spokane City Credit Union. Are you a customer at a big dumb bank? Well, stop it. At a bank, you're just a customer. At a credit union, you're a member and a shareholder. You can help make decisions about what the credit union does do or doesn't do. Banks just want to get bigger by swallowing up smaller banks one at a time until there's only 1 or 2 banks left. Nobody wants that. Well, except for big banks. Since 1934, Spokane City Credit Union has remained independent,
At a credit union,
relevant,
you're both a
and
member
local,
and a
with a focus on the
shareholder.
financial needs of individuals and families in Spokane City. Go to sccu.net. Spokane City Credit Union, serving Spokane one member at a time. All right, let's talk about Zephyr FC in their second year in the USL Super League. So far through 4 games, 3 on the road, 1 at home. Started the season at Dallas, then had a game against DC Power, and then a midweek game against Brooklyn FC, and then the first ever home game here against Fort Lauderdale on Saturday, which was tough, 3 games in a week. So I just want to give me your kind of first impressions. We're going to have plenty of time to unpack our feelings about what we're seeing so far, but just like kind of vibe check. What are you guys thinking? You guys start this off.
Yeah, I think the word that comes to mind for me is just disjointed a little bit.
Okay.
I think that with such turnover in the squad, they're kind of figuring out their roles, and you've got different players in roles that they weren't in last year, and a lot of spots in that squad that are kind of yet to be filled. I think looking for somebody to step up and really kind of take over a role for themselves.
Yeah.
But there's been some bright spots too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, also really great to see some of the new players come in and really make an impact on the team. But yeah, I think Josh said it after the last game where, the passing looked like we were a little careless with the ball, giving the ball away. I think some of that just comes with a lack of familiarity and trying to find that rhythm and routine, getting back together. So, not quite picking up maybe from the form of last year, but I think that's to be expected when you have such a transition and so much turnover in the squad. It's really hard to maintain that kind of consistency.
Yeah, I think I was texting with you one day and I was like, seems like it's bunching, and like a ball, a kick would come over and they're all fighting for the ball. And that's just a few instances where I'm like, they run into each other. I think that's where the not having that, timing with each other or knowing each other's routine or, having the right responsibilities out there defined, be like, hey, communication, like however it is. But it seems like they're developing that pretty quickly, being into the 4th game now. What I like to watch is the back line when they start coming out to defend, or if there's, the offense is coming in, just seeing how well timed they are together. And I was seeing it looked crisp on Saturday's game. I wasn't there live, but, rewatching it and stuff. And just, that was one thing that came to mind, just seeing that. And, Sarah McCoy out there, you could see her communicating, at her center back position, just making sure that everybody was right there, ready to go. I think it's putting that complete game together because on the road, like DC, the offense was flowing. There was opportunities all over the field. It felt like the attack was really strong. And defense, you leave a couple gaps, and unfortunately, see Sydney scoring for the other team. And then, fast forward to last week where
offensively, the first half especially, just could not get anything going, having a hard time stringing passes together. But, aside from the one, scrappy goal, the defense looked really solid, and they were playing as a team, playing as a unit. Right. I think fighting really hard for the ball, trying to work together and build that. So I think that's what they need, is just to put together a little bit of a run of form, get both sides of the ball kind of working together in the same match. Yeah. You sometimes get a little luck, get a goal at the right time to make you feel good. But I think they're working to build that together.
Yeah. And I think the outlook is positive. I'm looking forward to, I look forward to every match, but like seeing the progression just into the fourth match, I'm looking forward to this Saturday.
Yeah, I think the idea of playing a complete game really resonates with me. I think defensively, you're right, against Fort Lauderdale, it looked really good. Other than that scrappy goal, I think that, off of a set piece, which we will talk about, otherwise gave up almost no chances at all. Right. I think that the shape of the team looks it looks tactically more coherent, and the shape looks more cohesive than pretty much the majority of last year. The pressing, I think, is something that has stuck out to me. The high press in particular, and getting the ball back as soon as you lose it, right? When you go into the phase of out of possession, that the team is like very committed, and it looks super intentional. And it's something that I thought, to use the word disjointed, last year, our press was so disjointed. It looks very effective this year so far, especially against DC Power, but also against Brooklyn. Brooklyn were miserable. I didn't think that Zephyr FC looked great in that game, but then I was like, well, if I'm a fan of Brooklyn, I'm like, oh, yikes, that's much worse.
Yeah.
The DC Power game, I thought Zephyr were dominant for stretches. They had the ball in the attacking third for 70% of the second half.
And those moments of magic too. With Amina last year, you had a player who you knew was a threat at any moment. And I think we saw a little bit of that in the DC match, where you've got Tucker and you've got Lena playing together, and a couple of those moments where you're like, oh, we can really create chances, and we can kind of make something out of nothing here. And that's, I think, part of what you're looking for when you're pressing high like that. You're winning the ball back. If you can make those quick opportunities, transition quickly, get your attacking players into those positions to make something out of it, then you've got a real opportunity. So I think it is building that cohesion up top. And if they can do that, and those players learn to work together and really hit those high notes, there's talent there. Yeah.
The one place there haven't been the dividends that have come from this, what I'm calling kind of tactical coherence and like this effective press, has been goals. But it does feel like the goals are going to come from the team and a buildup from the team. And that's a very positive thing, because, and we're going to get into talking about the Fort Lauderdale game and details from it. But when you are reliant on a single player like we were last year, let's be honest, it was heliocentric, to use a basketball term, right? I mean, it's not just basketball, but it's most commonly used. Like Amina was kind of like Luka Doncic. It's like, if she didn't produce magic, we weren't scoring goals. Now, that changed when we had Ali Cook, of course, but what did that lead to? They went on this, I'll say historic, even though they were in their first season ever as a league.
It's still history.
It's still history. I don't think that's probably not going to happen, to go from worst to near first again. Yeah. That's a very, very cool thing what happened in the latter half of last year. But it was very reliant upon Amina. And I came in here even thinking, I'm going to talk to these guys about the fact that we need not somebody to be Amina, but we just need to have who's going to be that player that we rely on, whatever. And it can't be just Ali. And just even through this initial part of the conversation about what the team looked like so far, I'm thinking, I don't really want that for them. I would rather it come from a range of players that anybody can step up. Lena Solano had a brace against DC Power. That in the next game, it could be Cam Tucker. That in the game after that, it's like, oh, cool, it's back to Ali, and she's just doing her thing, right? Because the finishing from Ali Cook does look like she might be the best finisher, or like goal poacher, or whatever you want to call it, like a complete forward in the league. She's so good. So let's use that little setup to talk a little bit about some of these games. Okay, so yeah. I'll share a couple of my notes that I had written down to talk about the game or the team. So far, it is worth noting we've surrendered 3 points in our first 4 results from former players against us. Winnie Bellata scored a goal against us in the first game. Sydney Cummings scored the equalizer for DC Power to deny Zephyr FC all 3 points in a game where I think we clearly deserved to win, and that super sucked. Shout out, Sydney. I love you. Interim head coach Josh, I think, has set the team up, and we were talking about this before we recorded. It looks like a 4-4-2, it looks like a 4-3-3 at times. It could be a 4-2-3-1. I don't really know. I end up often just going to the heat map of where people end up. And you talked about this a little bit earlier, Ronald. They do end up bunched up quite a bit, which I think is just something that is a result of when you press, you end up having to figure out how to get back into a useful shape when you get possession back and you go into the attacking and possession phase. So these are things that are going to work out. Yeah. I think the preferred lineup is currently this, and I have yet to talk about this publicly. At the back, I think it's going to be Kelsey Euler on the left, Sarah, formerly Clark, now McCoy. Shout out Sarah, congratulations. In the middle as the captain, very all-league player. She's so good. Reese Tappan has been deputized in front of, I think it'll be Haley Thomas, who will be center half, which is what she's comfortable playing there, or she played on the left. But this is just me kind of speculating. So Haley would replace Reese in the middle. And then it's been, I think, an even split of Maggie Johnston and Ginger Fontenot on the right. And then in the midfield, it's Olivia Vanderyacht, I think, will be preferred. Sophie Braun, Arissa Mart, Emma Jaskinique, some combination of the three of them, perhaps four, depending on what the coach wants to do. Allie Cook up top, just the most nailed on starter of the team, alongside, of course, Hope Heisey. And then I think Cam Tucker and on the right and Lena Solano on the left also seems to be something that's going to be fairly consistent that we'll see. Yeah. Until perhaps Tori Zarenberg can come in and maybe get some starters minutes at some point, but it's her first year as a professional, so we'll see. The high press up top reminded me a lot of watching Gonzaga back in the day with Chris Watkins. I don't think they quite play like they did under Chris, and I don't mean like their ability, but just in terms of tactical approach. But I know that Chris and Josh were homies, so maybe they have a certain similar pedigree and approach to the pressing side of things, but I like it. I like it when teams try to get the ball back. I'm a big fan of that. I want to talk about a couple moments from the Brooklyn game before we talk about Fort Lauderdale. So I want to run through this. If you guys don't remember this game, it's okay. But there's just certain things that happened in this game that I was like, okay, let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to it when we do our kind of recap of where things stand with Zephyr through their first four games. I got to see a familiar sight. Kelsey Euler with that left foot of hers sending balls over the top. She has a great left foot. And her delivery and the service that she can provide when she bombs down the wing is something to keep an eye on. But I also kind of, and I'd say that the game against Brooklyn is where she looked the most comfortable from the first few games. Central midfielders in short supply. I think we lost a real one in Winnie Bellata, and I question whether or not we should have let her go, because I think she's really good and could do a job in this team. Again, high press looks good. Sam Kroger from Brooklyn is like one of my favorite players in this league. She is so freaking dangerous. I have to talk about the 90th minute equalizer from Emma Jaskinique. It all starts with the ball over the top from Sarah McCoy. Shay Collins, who is a new player, came on as a sub, runs onto it. She has two Brooklyn players defending her. She attempts not one cross that gets blocked, but a moment later that also gets blocked, but she doesn't give up. It was so tenacious. Oh yeah. And I was just like, this kid, like what I'm seeing. She almost scored a goal in the same game. She almost scored the winner. Yeah. My God, it's crazy. She attempted another cross. It was also blocked. She recovered it. She finds Emma with a short pass, and Emma's like 3 or 4 yards outside the box. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to crack that thing. And it was an arrow from her quiver to the top corner. Keeper had no shot.
The camera angle too.
Oh, it's perfect.
The camera angle could not be better. Just right behind it.
Good job, Peacock. Good job, Brooklyn. You put your camera in the right place for that goal. And I think Emma kind of looked back like, I think the camera's right there. It was an amazing finish, and we got a very hard-earned point in that game. It was a midweek game though, and unfortunately, I looked at the schedule early on. I talked about this in the last episode of the podcast. It's like, so we go to Dallas. Okay, that's great. And then a week later, we go to DC, but then we go to Brooklyn like 3 days later, and then home for our first home game against Fort Lauderdale. So everything that we saw in the Fort Lauderdale game, I think we have to take with a pretty enormous grain of salt, because it was a short turnaround. Yeah. Some players were rested. Kelsey Euler didn't even, I doubt there was any chance she was going to be in that game, because she had started every game before that. But I found something kind of noteworthy. There was only 5 minutes of highlights on the YouTube because I heard what you're saying, Ronald, and there were a couple nice passages of play, but I overall thought this was very miserable to watch. Yeah. What did you think, Zach?
Yeah, I had a great time. Ugh. It was great to be back at One Stadium.
Yeah, super great.
The first half in particular, though, we just had a hard time finding space, stringing passes together. I think that probably came to light at halftime a little bit because they did come out, looked a lot more fluid at the start of the second half. There were some chances, but yeah, the first half in particular was not a great game of football to watch. And I think some of that probably is attributed to the changes in the squad. So some of that creativity from Euler and Mart not being in the lineup maybe looks a little bit different because we're not able to break.
There was some rotation. I didn't take an exact note of it, but there was some rotation in this game.
But yeah, and look, Fort Lauderdale also did not look like they came to attack. You know, they took their one chance off of that corner, and they didn't really do a whole lot either. So I mean, could have been a more entertaining start to the season for sure.
Yeah. My wife was there, and she was texting me about things that were happening outside of the game. So I was like, this game must not be holding her attention. I mean, normally when we do go there, we sit above the southwest corner.
Yep.
Like right above that corner flag there. And there's not a bad spot to stand in that stadium.
It's true.
So when she was texting me about the grease fire that was happening or what is the beer garden down there is like $1 off. And I'm like, okay, but what about the game?
Shout out Pacifico.
Yeah. The Pacifico patio.
Yep.
And, and then she's like, Lumberbeard is here. I was like, yeah, great. That's the preferred brewery that we're using. Shout out Lumberbeard. Thanks for hosting us. Yeah. Especially you, Sav.
Dude, I thought like whoever had to put the highlight package together for the USL, I feel bad for them because I was like, does that highlight say it like a name of a player and it says pass? And was kind of like, okay, I get to see a pass. And it literally was that.
Sure does.
Like, we don't know what else to put here. Ali Cook got a yellow card. She drew a yellow card in the 4th minute. And I was like, okay, this is great. Ali Cook's already got a card. She got them booked. I thought that Fort Lauderdale, to the point you were making earlier, they approached this game almost like they did the last game of the season where they knew they only needed a point at One Stadium to get into the playoffs and to put us out of the playoffs. They approached it kind of the same way. I was like, man, they are just like doing nothing.
It was classic. If you get a point on the road,
then we're so happy.
You're happy. Yeah. And that's definitely how it played out.
Best chance in the game was minute 47. And I know we're all thinking about this because it was like, this showed so much promise that you think, okay, these players can start clicking like this. Again, it's a very team generated attack. Lena Solano is working the ball down the left touchline. It's an overload. Emma is in that kind of advanced 8/10 role. She's right alongside Solano, who passes her the ball. Emma squares it for Ali Cook. Ali Cook, first time, just pings dead center off the middle of the post. And I was like so ready to erupt. She didn't quite get all of the ball either.
That's the loudest sound in the world when you hear it ping off of the
woodwork.
It sucks. It sucks also because, we're going to get through these highlights of this game quick, folks, because there's just really not a lot great to talk about. Both teams had one chance. That was ours. Okay. Minute 61, Fort Lauderdale earn a corner and they work a really effective training ground routine. Let's be honest. It was 3 players running across the front of Hope Heisey's goal, starting from the back post. It looked like for some reason it caught Zephyr FC completely off guard. Hope Heisey comes off her line. A Fort Lauderdale defender is just standing her ground and love you, Hope, but you ran right into this kid. The kid was just standing there. It's like not her fault that you ran into her and you tripped and you fell and ball ends up in the back of the net. Yeah. And I can't really say that there was a foul, although Hope shouted like hell for one. And I bet if I talked to her, she'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, my fan hat that was staring at the field, watching all of our players raising their arms, was like, that's got to be a foul, and watch it back on replay. I wish that was true.
Somebody that was watching, because I'll follow Discord in the live match discussion, and somebody on Discord was kind of like, yeah, it just looked like Hope tripped and fell. It's like, a really good physical set piece. That's the last highlight of the game, really.
And I think that's what was so unfortunate. The timing of ours, right? Minute 47, it felt like, okay, we're going to come out in the second half. Yeah. Right out of the gate, we get a great opportunity. Now it's how do you get Ali the ball, right? And I think that was missing the first half. Basically, passes would kind of fall apart once they hit midfield or they get out to the wing. We could not get the ball effectively into the box. So there was that moment of hope, and there just wasn't enough of that.
So the point that Josh was making, all right, what was that one moment that we all enjoyed so much with this overload? Well, why couldn't they replicate that? It's just because everything was just a little bit sloppy. just not refined, the passing in particular. Just kind of idea and a principle in soccer, like a very Pep Guardiola thing of, I want my players to be where I want them to be, and I want them to find a teammate with the ball. I don't want the players to have to expend energy to run to the ball. I want the players to be able to make the pass and find the player where they're at. It doesn't mean you don't make runs. It just means that you're able to keep your shape. So when you go from an effective press, which the Zephyr FC have shown, and you get stretched or pulled apart, how quickly can you get back into a position that's effective for possession? Okay. That's, I think, what we're kind of struggling with, that transition between we're pressing, we're doing effective pressing, but we get the ball back and we're like, oh God, where is everybody? We're 6s and 7s. There's a game, I think it was the DC Power game. Maybe it was Brooklyn, where Ginger Fontenot ran into Cam Tucker and they quite literally like set a pick on one another.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it that game? I can't remember.
I think so.
But I was like, there's just some of that stuff of like, in which phase do I do which thing, and brand new team. But I kind of agree. Let's talk about the kind of the good and the bad of what we're seeing overall right now. I think we're all kind of on the same page of what we're seeing.
That link up I was talking about earlier, it was Van Giat to Tucker. Just seeing that midfield link up to get out to the wing, that was awesome to see. So, but just seeing that kind of stuff, like just seeing that shape kind of happen and just getting that pass out from there, that's kind of stuff I like seeing. So.
Yeah. And I do see some of the technical ability. So Cam Tucker, some of the passes that she made, like the one for Shea, that missed opportunity, not in the Fort Lauderdale game, but previously, brilliant through ball.
Against Brooklyn.
Yeah. And
it's almost the game winner. Shea looked like it's that thing where she finds herself in a position
that's too good of a pass.
Yeah. Or like, I'm not usually here. This is not part of my game. Or just maybe because it's early jitters of your first experience with this team and all that.
But I think that there are those moments. There's some of that creativity. Euler with some of the balls that she's played.
Yep.
So those things, it feels like there's glimpses of that where if the fluidity comes and you're able to string some of those things together, you can pull a team apart. So again, that effective press into transition, a couple of those good passes, you can really beat teams on the run and in transition with that. We just need to see more of it.
When the press is effective, when you make the recovery, how quickly can you get back into a useful shape to build attack? I think that's kind of a key part of it. Instead of just going, get the ball to Amina Ekic and let her cook, And I don't mean that as any kind of slight. It's just that I think the team did rely on a very top-heavy attack. Another couple things I just want to point out. I didn't know that Reese Tappen could play such a physical, hard-ass brand of soccer. She will body a player. Yeah. And I was like, she came out of college. I thought she had the profile of like a bomb down the wings, provide service, whatever, which maybe it was one of those things. Of course she did that because she was a college player who was really good. So now that she's a professional, it's like, whoa, she's got that to her game. She's got a little FU in her game. I saw her go shoulder to shoulder with some kids at times, and I was like, Jesus, I did not know, but she looked very comfortable.
She's a Coug, so the toughness comes in.
Okay. We'll see what happens when Haley Thomas recovers. I did run into Haley, and she said she's going to be okay. Great. I like that player so much. I'm so excited to see her rejoin the squad. So will she play on the left? Will she go into the middle? Not quite sure. Yeah. One of the first notes you'd take if you're talking about the good things in this team. Cam Tucker provides very good service from the wide areas. She's a great crosser of the ball. Her cross to Lena Solano against DC Power was just, chef's kiss. Lena Solano, aggressive, likes to make runs into the box and put her head on the ball. And like, that is not something every player is born to do. If you watch soccer players and you see a player do what Lena Solano does and she's not like some huge player, that is just, you either can or have an aptitude or a desire to do that, or you don't. Not every player, I'm not going to name names. I'm tempted so badly, Josh Doling. Not every player is born to make those runs in the box and just be super aggressive and get your hat on it. That just doesn't happen all the time.
And that's where if that service comes in, I like Allie and Lena up top attacking the box can be an absolute nightmare for defenders. Yep. So I think with the two of them, with the physical presence, if you can get that good service consistently, that's a handful.
The only player that I'm not super sure on, is I don't know who's going to unlock opponents other than from wide areas. Okay. Which we do have that ability. I can see it in both Solano and certainly Cam Tucker, or if Kelsey Euler gets down the left. Emma as an advanced 8 or a 10 is worth keeping an eye on, but I generally think of her more for right now for her physicality and her work rate. But, can she add that part to her game or find that part of her game where she picks out the runs, provides link up play with Allie? She and Allie did a lot of that last year effectively. But I don't look at the under the hood data about Emma and go, oh yeah, it's a 10 or an advanced 8, whatever. I just don't know if that's her game. So I'll be very curious to see how she can be best utilized, because I'm a big fan in general of Emma. Just think she's kind of in an interesting purgatory as a midfielder.
Honestly, there's a little bit of a flag for me. It reminds me of Spurs, where it's the physical midfield, right? We have players that are willing to get after it. They're in it for the press, but you still need somebody to unlock the defense when you get the ball. And so I think in Fort Lauderdale, without Mart on the field, especially, we just lacked a little bit of that creativity.
I have not seen enough of her play. Yeah. I'm still really curious to see, because I've gotten that same sort of understanding. By the way, Olivia Vanderyacht, nickname Olo, in case you didn't know. Mm-hmm. What a profile and pedigree of a player. I expect her to do great things. So just let her get a little bit more situated and comfortable, and that should help a lot too. So many new players, 2 points from 4 games. Tough start to have 3 games on the road in their first home game after a midweek road fixture. So I'm still glass half full about what I'm seeing. Yeah. Any more notes about Zephyr FC before we talk about Velocity?
I think just the note for everybody to come out.
Yeah.
Comparing this season opener to last year, I know obviously season 1 is going to look a little bit different.
Yeah.
But we need people in the stands.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody, like, the weather's supposed to be great. Come on out. Like, they need
it's
us
very
too.
True. Comparatively to other markets and other teams in the Super League in particular, we're doing great. But still, I would rather have way more than 2,000 people there. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
So totally with you on that. So a great final note is show up and watch these games. What else are you doing? If you like soccer, come on. Stop watching Premier League games, Ross Carper. Nobody cares about Liverpool Football Club, bro. Nobody should care. Do you think Fenway Sports Group cares about you? Kingdom of Saudi Arabia cares about me? I'm ripping this shirt off right now. I'm going shirtless for the rest of this podcast. Let's take one more quick break. When we return, we're going to talk all about Velocity FC's recent results. The Spokane Soccer Show is proudly supported by Feast World Kitchen. You have heard me say dozens and dozens of times how much I love the food. The Ghanaian jollof rice and the Egyptian sambusas that I had once upon a time at the AFCON watch party. But I want to keep reminding you about all the operational support that Feast World Kitchen needs to make what they're doing possible through their programs. But for all the employees that provide the operational support for their programs, here's the deal. It's not free paying a living wage for all this incredible work. And in our society right now, a lot of that funding that flows to this sort of work is being cut off. I'm sure you all know that. If you read the news, right? All these programs are being cut. So instead of just gushing about the food and telling you to eat there, this time I'm asking you to consider making a donation to keep this amazing work going. Go to feastworldkitchen.org/donate to make sure that these chef entrepreneurs have all the support they need to continue serving up delicious food here in our Spokane community. It fills me with joy to announce that Wildland Co-op is a sponsor of the Spokane Soccer Show. What is Wildland Co-op? Wildland is a small farm, it's a brewery, it's a winery, and it's a local goods market. 20 varieties of beer on tap, guaranteed to be something you're going to dig. A range of fantastic wines and tasty non-alcoholic beverages. So pull up an Adirondack chair on their cherry tree patio and take in all those yummy flavors amidst sweeping views of Green Bluff and the foothills of Mount Spokane. There is literally not a better place in the 509 to gawk at the warm, dreamlike skies during golden hour. I've almost run out of room on my phone taking photos of it. That's actually a true story. The Wildland Co-op is family friendly, everybody's welcome, and if you'll recall, last year, their head brewer, Michael, took me up on the idea of making a signature beer for the Spokane Soccer Show. Remember the Double Pivot Pub Ale? For more information, go to their website or follow them on Instagram, Wildland Co-op. That's wildland.coop. All right, let's talk about our friends Velocity FC, the boys. Tough road loss versus One Knox. I was very unhappy with that game. I almost wanted to turn it off. I was like, this is so sloppy, so bad, played bad. Following back-to-back wins against Union Omaha, Forward Madison, and AV Alta. It's like we're back to our winning ways after that terrible mid-July debacle of forfeit. But this game, Sunday, wow. Kind of an opposite vibe. of the Saturday game. I went into the Saturday game in the best possible mood. I was just chilling. I saw the Gonzaga women's soccer team was sitting in the east side bleacher, and I was next to them with Mike Policio and some friends from Spokane Impact, Ryan Chelly, and some other people that were and Maddie Cooley. Shout out all these wonderful people. Some of my favorite soccer people in Spokane, and just a great vibe. And then soccer was bad. So then I go there Sunday, and I was not in a particularly great state of mind Sunday. And the first 30 minutes of this game, boys, just dreadful. Oh my God. All right. But before I get to that, Jalen Chrysler got another start at center half over Cameron Miller. Ish Jome returned to the first 11 instead of Nil Vinyals. Still no Pierre Reedy. I have to figure out what's going on with PR. Makes me very sad because he started this season completely on fire. So first 30 minutes, again, miserable. And I just think it goes to show you what can happen when the other team punches you in the mouth. The Mike Tyson quote. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. We got punched in the mouth, and we didn't even look like we had a plan before we got punched in the mouth. What do you guys think of this game? Generally, no details yet, but were you on the same page as me that the first 30 minutes were very tough on the ice?
100%. Yeah, and the vibe was weird. I think
vibe was weird.
The smoky weekend, everything felt a little bit off by the time we got to Sunday, and yeah, it was a slow start. And I think, that's where the game plan for Westchester is pretty simple. And as soon as they got that opportunity, they made the most out of it.
It's called JC Obregon. Jesus.
I was teaching I was with my father-in-law, and he was like, teach me some soccer. I don't know a lot about the game. I like watching it. And I said, they're going to get the ball to 29. Yeah. And our whole game plan is don't let them get the ball to 29. And sure enough, the one time they do,
dude,
cracker. I mean, it was great. Great take. Yeah.
So I thought both teams, to be clear, for the first 35 minutes were completely miserable. It was like so sloppy. No one wants to hold on to the ball. There were back and forth hospital balls. It was physical, but it wasn't like physical and useful. It was just kind of like, I was like, I wouldn't be able to sell this to anybody that came to watch that with me. And then something crazy happens. I get a text from a friend. Shout out Katie Sheehan. I grab my beer and I'm like, maybe this will save my day. I'm just going to go sit with Katie and her partner, Jewel. Shout out. I sit down. I'm barely in my seat and I look up and like, to your point, here we go. Minute 36, kind of something from nothing, but a good reminder why JC Obregon has been the Golden Boot leader for most of this year and finished second only to Liam McKinnon, who took the lead in the last day of the 2024 season. Defender plays the ball up the wing. It's Derek Waldeck and Prince Sadie, a winger for Westchester. They come together to compete for it. Ends up leading to a second ball. Just kind of sort of falls to the feet of JC Obregon, who has instantaneous Terminator vision. Puts Jalen Chrysler on roller skates. I love Jalen. I don't blame him. If I have JC Obregon like bearing down on me, I'm going to do this kind of number. Yeah. I'm 6'5" and I'm a center half that's not my game, right? It's tough. Maybe he should have closed down the space and denied shooting position for Obregon, but Obregon I swear, it was like, he just, afterburners. This is where he's just got that, wow, how do I say this nicely? Nico Brett 5 years ago, kind of a thing. So sorry. Just gets this little bit of space, 2 yards inside the area. Wicked shot. Knuckles around Carlos. Carlos could do nothing. Yeah. And I was just like, great. So here we go. I'm glad I'm at least sitting next to friends, because this will be much easier to endure. 1-0 Westchester. Your thoughts on this goal?
Well, I was watching up until that point because I had not planned to go to the game that day. I was helping friends move and whatnot.
Wait, did you end up going?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
no.
okay.
But I was coming back from fishing and everything, so I was like, maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll help some friends with some stuff. And I'm like, let me get you a beer. So I went to a brewery, put the game on, just had it off to the side. That ball went in. I just turned my phone off, put it down. My boys were like, you good? I'm like, ugh. And I just finished the beer that I had.
Because we're playing against a team that sucks. And I don't care if Westchester knows that I think this. They suck.
I remember watching them on the road, and we just ripped them apart.
Totally. And in the game that we had the forfeit, admittedly, they were scrappy. I think they would have felt very hard-earned to not get something out of that game. Yeah. But they're, generally speaking, they have massively underperformed the salaries that are being paid. They're the highest paid team in this league from every indication that we've heard. Did you have thoughts?
And I think I had that feeling of, okay, we'll see how the quality is from here, because a good team that can play really good defensive football can shut that game down, right? You get that one moment, that's what you're playing for, shut it down, right?
They don't have that.
They don't have that. and I think it was just waiting. Okay, like give him that. He gets his flowers. Great goal. You can't knock that. Don't let him get the ball again.
Here's what drives me crazy about what you're describing, Zach, because I obviously totally agree with you, but it's like, why are we waiting for that? Why are we? I wish we were on our front foot more often. I'm just seeing it too often. I'm sorry. It needs to be called out. Way too many times are we just very pass happy, very passive in possession, so high possession, so low tempo, or worse, we're just making super crazy aggressive passes. It's a lot of 1-2s down the wing and then lumping it over the top to see if like somebody can run onto it down the wing. I just get it's a little one note for me sometimes. And it took Westchester scoring for it was kind of like, okay, plan B. It's like, wait, why was plan B not our plan A? Right. Because whatever happened when that goal struck the back of the net from JC Obregon, it's like velocity got fucking unglued. They were so good after this. And I have the next note in here. It is David Garcia. Holy shit.
Jeez.
I wish I had seen this highlight in the way that I could when watching it in the peace of my home on YouTube instead of in the stadium when I was still just kind of like freaking out because we were losing to a terrible team. Here's what happens in quick succession in minute 40. David threads this beautiful progressive pass through the lines to Siobhan John Brown. Siobhan gets dispossessed because he's being defended fairly well by two defenders. But a Westchester player who ends up with the ball off of a dispossession of Siobhan, tries to find a teammate down the touchline on the left. To your point, Zach, it's like they don't know what to do with a 1-0 lead. David Garcia reads it easily, intercepts the ball, immediately picks his head up, spots a run from Anwar. It's a nice cross into the box, but it's well defended and cleared. Okay. It's third time's the charm. Yeah. There's David Garcia again, just watching Westchester suck. He's like, hey, thanks. I'll take that cleared ball. Chests it beautifully, takes one touch, finds Luis down the right, but he maintains his run toward the end line, right? Corner of the box. He's running. Luis spots the run instantly because, of course, Luis is the most clever Luis is the most clever player probably in USL League One, if I'm being honest, in terms of just like attacking awareness.
Yeah.
He spots the run instantly, plays him in. Luis then runs into a central position. David carries a defender on his back to the end line and rolls it backward to Luis Heel. And Andre Lewis smells blood in the water. He comes running into the box. Yeah. I've told you many times on this podcast how much I love the kind of two-man game with Luis and Andre, and we finally got to see it. I'm so freaking happy this happened. Luis, so unselfish, squares it for Andre gently, who puts it in the back of the net. Keeper is rooted, and if you watch the highlight, the keeper is not just rooted. He has this look of disbelief, like, what the that should not have happened in League One, and I will say it. You can print it right now. Subclip this. It's the best team goal I've ever seen in this league.
Yeah, I mean, 10 out of 10, no notes, right? Like that. Yeah. That was the moment I think for me where you see the difference in the two teams, and it is that one team has a guy who's very, very good. And when we are humming like we were in that moment, the technical ability of our players is just better.
Encourage them to cook. That's my only thing. And I don't care if anybody listens to this podcast and cares about what I suggest tactically. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but let these players cook. They're really good. Encourage them to go out and express themselves and try some ridiculous shit. When David can do that, and I know there's other players that have so much quality in this team that they can do that kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And David had an amazing quote after the game that is not fit for print. But I don't think he likes that team. That's all I'll say. He does not like Westchester.
Yeah. And to your point, I don't like when the team has to wait to wake up the dragon in them.
Don't wait to be great.
Just go.
You're great. Go do it.
And seeing that team goal when they were in that box, and I thought it was a back heel flick, watching it quickly. But then when it rolled back, I was like, oh, That's beautiful.
No, it's the bottom of his foot.
Yeah.
And you just kind of
just roll back and then just serving up your teammate with something on a silver platter. Just seeing that, and then to your point, with that keeper's just watching it go in. They couldn't do anything about it.
Sense of urgency, though, right? Like if you have that from moment one and you are better than the other team, take advantage of that. I think that was a frustrating thing for me last year with Zephyr, right? The sense of urgency sometimes. Yeah. That final game of the season where you're like, you need to win this, go get it. Dude. And it took too long on Sunday. When it happened, though, they didn't let up. I think that was the impressive thing for me is they got the goal and it felt like, okay, we've got confidence. We are a better team. Let's just go do this.
When David and Luis and then finally Andre did that to Westchester, I thought, that's like illegal in 48 states. It was unbelievable. Just completely took their pants down. Yeah. It was crazy. It's gorgeous. Unbelievable stuff. Before we get to the last goal, Jalen Chrysler was freaking dominant defensively in this game. 12 clearances, 8 of them headed, 5 aerial duels won, and just, you're not going to beat us with balls over the top when Jalen's in playing center half. Minute 59, Lucky's got to throw in. Throws it to Andre. Andre passes it right back to him. And again, Westchester just completely asleep at the wheel. Yeah. Lucky picks out a pass to Jalen Chrysler, who looks like Treebeard in the box, picking on Westchester Orcs. Jalen bullies these dudes, makes 6'2" defender Bobby Pierre look like he's 5'2". Goes near post. Keeper stretches out entirely, really, but has no chance because the ball was already in the back of the net before he dove. Just a beautiful, beautiful game winner. And that was it. Jalen Chrysler to the rescue.
Yeah. I mean, he got his revenge for the JC goal from earlier.
He had a role in the JC goal, which I didn't even realize in real time until I watched the highlights. It's like, oh, okay.
But again, the technical ability, right? Somebody like Lucky who, he can play in a few different spots on the field, but that service from out wide, like if you've got the size in the middle, but you've got somebody who can put the ball in like that, it gives you another threat even from deep.
Lucky's quality out there. When you give him that kind of time, it's crazy. So Jalen Chrysler steps forward and says, I'm the real JC. Just amazing stuff. A quick reminder about David Garcia and what Eamon Zayed, his former manager from Northern Colorado, said. He described him as a Cadillac of defender. Speed, class, luxury. He's just got literally everything. And he once again showed it in this game. I shouted out Jalen as the man of the match because I was just so stoked about his winner. But I got to be honest with you, what David did on that play.
Oh, man.
On that series of plays.
I will say, I recommend, because in trying to teach my father-in-law about soccer, I watched a lot of Luis Hill because I think he is the best technical player in the league and he's so fun to watch. Yeah. I recommend, if you have the ability, just spend 90 minutes watching him because the way he moves into space.
Real quick, I thought you were going to say, if you have the ability, be Luis Hill.
Yeah, when in doubt.
I mean, that too.
When in doubt, be Luis Hill. But his technical ability, the way he moves into space, he's not the fastest guy, but he can break down a defense just with his brain.
Instantly.
And so fun. He will probably never get the credit that he really deserves for what he can do at this level. But it is so fun to watch somebody like that who just clearly has that class in them. Class is permanent, right?
Yeah, dude.
And I think that there's a big case for me of just watching him, the way that he unlocks things really is so different from anybody else on the field.
It's so true. I've run out of things to say about it. If you've ever listened to this podcast, there's times I'm looking at games and I'm saying he didn't have a goal contribution. He maybe even wasn't that important in the attack for whatever reason, but what he contributes elsewhere, it's always there. The competitiveness, the FU energy. The good news is we are still 3 points behind Chattanooga, but we have a game in hand and we are still very tough to beat and really tough to beat defensively in particular, thanks to these center halves we've been talking about and Carlos Marancio, who's standing on his head half the time. The bad news is Chattanooga are ahead on goal differential and we finished the season on the road, I think for 4 games, including that makeup game against Portland. So we've got some tough stuff ahead of us and only 3 more home games. So got to show up to every one of those folks. This team can win a player shield and then get a home game in the playoffs. It's all right there.
Yeah. And I think if we have that energy of a home playoff game this year, it will be a very different environment. So they deserve it. I hope they come through and
I love my
finish the way
sponsor.
that they
I love my sponsor at Flatstick, but I really want to be able to watch a home game. You know?
Yeah.
God, those were so special to watch last year, especially because we had those back-to-back wins. But that was the good and the bad. And then the prayer, if you're a praying type, is that Chattanooga fall apart and we start to find some road form. We need some road form. We have not been a very good road team in 2024 or 2025. Just pointing that out.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've got a lot of travel, right?
Yeah.
Playing out west. And I think the same thing stands the other way, right? Nobody really wants to come out here either.
True.
So that's where if we can sneak a few points on the road, get that home game, it's a big home field advantage for us just as much as it is a disadvantage on the road.
Well, it's a road game against Texoma. We have zero excuse not to go put our feet down. One last thing to think about. Thoughts, prayers for Anwar that he's not too hurt. Because that looked like a high ankle sprain, and those can be ugly and lead to multiple weeks of not playing, which would be pretty tough. However, we had a goal chalked off. Nico Brett should have had a goal. Derek Waldeck's cross, 87th minute. No, it wasn't Derek. It was Javier Martin Hill. He's bombing down the left in the 87th minute, and we all looked at it. The AR got that so wrong. He was about at least a foot on.
Yeah. Once we scored the second goal, Westchester really opened up. There was a lot of room.
Yeah.
Javi was bombing down that flank from the moment that he came on, played a perfect ball. I was watching in the stadium. I was like, well, maybe he's off. I don't have a perfect angle. I'm sorry. The replay.
Very bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Those are the kinds of calls. If that is the difference between a win and a loss or a win and a draw, you're going to have some complaints.
Thank God we didn't lose that game or only get a draw. It didn't cost us points. Any other notes about Velocity FC before we wrap this thing up? We've been here talking for 7 hours. By the time I edit this, it'll probably be a little over an hour, but it's been 7 hours and I'm tired and I need to go home.
Yeah. No, I think another, it's the same message like we were talking about for Zephyr. Get out there, get in one Spokane Stadium, fill the seats.
Ronald Sanchez Jr., Zach Waud, you guys are awesome. Spokane Spurs?
Spokane Spurs, yeah.
Instagram?
So Instagram is Spokane Spurs, conveniently enough. We're also on Facebook. We pretty much watch every match that's not at 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. together. Yeah. And especially this year with Champions League, we'll be trying to watch as many of those at Lumberbeard as we can. So come on out, support us, give us a follow. It's a good group of people. We have a really good time, win or lose. I find the highs are higher with friends and the lows aren't as low.
That's going to do it for the show. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you, Zach. Don't forget to rate and review the Spokane Soccer Show. This show is also on Instagram and YouTube, of course. So go follow, rate, review, all the things. And as always, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.